Our moderator is going to be Steve Rosansky. He's former city council member, former mayor, and he's presently head of the Chamber of Commerce. And so I'm going to get things going here and turn this over to Steve. Steve?
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed. Everybody hear that?
Right?
Yeah, there we go.
That's right.
So, good evening. Thanks for coming down to hear a little bit about our schools here in Newport Mesa School District from our panels that we have here. So just so you know, we're going to do a quick round of self-introductions. We've got some questions here that I'll be asking the panelists. And then if we have some time at the end, we have a bunch of questions already and obviously a lot of panelists. And we're going to try and leave about 5 minutes at the end. The fentanyl people want to make a quick presentation about what they're doing and how
Could you take the trash out too when you go?
So, with that being said, why don't we start with you, Ms. Bartow, and introduce yourself. I'm sorry? You can stand or sit. Probably standing is better. People want to see you. So.
I'm a mother of 4 Newport Mesa students. I'm a school board trustee elected in 2018. I own a digital marketing business and have been heavily involved with early childhood education nonprofits for a long, long time.
Hello. Hi, I'm Carol Crane. Thank you, Speak Up Newport, for having us tonight. I really appreciate you reaching out to us. I have had 3 children go through the Newport Mesa Unified School District. I am Area 3, which if you close your eyes and visualize the Back Bay, can you tell I'm a teacher, former teacher? Basically, it starts at Santa Isabel by Irvine, wraps around the YMCA, Santa Ana Heights, the Newport North area, East Bluffs, Ford Road, Bonita Canyon, Big Canyon, and then the Jamboree Corridor, which is Fashion Island Apartments, Harbor Cove, to PCH. So that's basically Area 3, and that's who votes for me. However, I represent schools that don't necessarily, it's a feeder school. So I represent East Bluff Elementary, Back Bay High School, CDM Middle, and CDM High School. So that's pretty much who I represent directly. Thank you.
Yes, hi, my name is Kurt Sir. I'm Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education in Newport Mesa Unified School District, and I've been working in the district. I'm going on my 27th year. Started out my career at Ray Elementary School and taught there for a number of years, and had a great mentor, Ken Killian, who brought me into school administration. So I moved up into the assistant principalship and the principalship at Ray. And then I went over to Newport Heights Elementary School, where I served as a principal over there, and I've been at the district office going on my 15th year. So just really happy to be here. I want to thank everybody for allowing us to have an opportunity to talk about all the great things that we're doing to serve our students in Newport Mesa.
Kurt is also a product of Newport Mesa. He went to which schools?
Yes, I went through the school district. I went to Paularino and Tewinkle and graduated from Costa Mesa High School.
Well, welcome everyone. My mic on? Here it goes. My name is Krista Wygand. I am a trustee for the school board. I am right now the board clerk. I represent Area 6, which is Eastside Costa Mesa and Dover Shores. The schools that I represent are Newport Heights, Kaiser Woodland, and Mariners Elementary School. I am a mother of 2. I have twins that are 8 years old. They attend Mariners Elementary. In my day job, I actually sell door locks and faucets. So I work for a brand of Quickset and Baldwin door locks and Price Pfister faucets, and I sell that into Costco and Walmart. So I have a business side as well as just being a mom, wanting to give the best education to our kids and community.
I got it. I have a construction project coming up. I'll have to talk to you about that.
I'll give you some advice.
Hi, folks. Thank you for having me. I'm sure you can tell my day job from looking at me. My name's Officer Andrew Shen. I've been a police officer for 10 years. I've been an SRO for the last 2 years. A little bit about me. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton with a business degree, so the natural transition obviously was to be a police officer. I have a beautiful wife, been married 11 years. We have 2 children, ages 8 and 5. And just happy to be here and share with you what I've got going on at the schools as well.
Great. So just to clarify one thing, and maybe it's my own ignorance, you each said, well, these are the schools I represent. But you represent all the students at all the schools when you're on the board.
That is correct, yes.
So you're all,
While we are voted in our little areas, we represent the whole school district.
well, it's similar to city council. We represent areas, but I always felt like I was the city councilman for the city, not just for Westfield.
That's true.
Very good. So our first question is going to go to Michelle, and how we're going to do this, we're going to ask the question of a particular panelist, but after they answer, we're going to let the other ones kind of chime in. So hopefully we'll, she misses something or he misses something, the other ones will pick it up. So Michelle, first let's take up the topic of governance. It's a topic we hear about in relation to education across the state. The Education Commission of the United States defines state education governance as the practice of coordinating institutions, processes, I guess, and I should go back to school, and norms to guide collective decision-making and action. How would you describe governance in relation to Newport Mesa Unified School District, and what role does parent input play in relation to education governance?
A little bit of background on Newport Mesa.
And you can stand up if you want.
Sure. A little bit of background on Newport Mesa because I think it defines the rest of the question pretty well. In Newport Mesa, there are 32 schools. 8 of them are elementary schools in Newport, and 4 of them are secondary schools. So we really represent a diverse group of students because of those 32 schools. The rest are in Costa Mesa. We've got, like I said, 8 elementary and 4 secondary. And I think that's important because part of what makes our district so diverse is the high need that we have in our district. We hover right around 49% of high need students. So we're a pretty diverse district. We have 7 trustees that represent those districts and the people who elected them in their zone. One thing that defines board governance and the reason we have school boards in the first place is to keep focused on learning and students and to navigate those diverse opinions of our constituents. School boards get lots of input from parents, emails, school board meetings, the grocery store, and when we're volunteering in the classroom. So I feel like we do a good job of being around in our communities, and we always appreciate hearing from our constituents even more, even in the grocery store. I think my kids have learned a lot about civics just from buying dinner with me on a Thursday night. So let's see. One question I get asked a lot about is parental involvement, parental rights. And one thing to know is that the Ed Code in California does uphold a lot of parental rights already. The right to review curriculum. Other states don't necessarily have that. The right to be involved in special ed processes. The right to review student records. And to opt out of curriculum. So things that parents have that are enshrined in state Ed Code are there. We recently updated our parental rights policy to outline some of these rights as related to the Ed Code. And then one of our goals that we've made recently in the past couple of years is to improve our parent engagement. Parents are always welcome in the classroom, and we want to improve that as much as possible. We've held multiple town halls throughout our district regarding electives, regarding safety. I feel like when we do that, we do our best work. So that's something that we strive to do. And then recently across the state, a lot of questions I've received about the governor's involvement and legislative in general, kind of intruding into what typically were school board decisions. We've got a lot of controversial legislation that's coming up and that's come through. And it's our job as a school board to navigate the legislation, but to also navigate parents' rights, advocate the rights of students, and then we are a public school and a public agency to navigate that all under the legal rights that we take on in that role.
Great answer. Kurt, do you have anything to add to that, maybe from the administration side? I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, I think in regards to thinking about parents having a voice in our processes, that's really important to our school district. And one of the goals that we've been working on is really working on that engagement with our families and the community. So I just want to echo the importance of making sure that when our schools are operating, you can have a really good school when you have a strong staff and you have strong administration and the district supporting, but you really can have a great school when you're involving your parents and you're involving the community and you're really making it part of a collective effort to support students.
Yeah, and if I may add a statistic to parent involvement, we HR, because we have to vet our parents that come and volunteer on our campuses, and it's really important because of a safety factor. We're not just going to let anyone come into our schools, and so we processed 2,183 volunteer applications. That's in a district that has 18,000 students. I'm guessing 14,000 households. So if you think of percentages of parent involvement in Newport Mesa, it's absolutely, definitely above average. And we do welcome the parents to come on campus, come volunteer, come see what we're doing, and we couldn't do it without the volunteer force, because it is, after all, a group effort. And governance is an interesting concept when you're a school board member, because you're held to a higher standard than than, let's say, an assembly person or a city council, because we have the ed code to follow, and because we are in charge, we're the stewards of minors mostly. There are some seniors who are 18 years old, but so we really have to. That's sort of our guiding standards that we have to follow. And again, the concept of the fact that we are stewards of minors and there's an ed code involved.
Okay, thank you. Krista, anything to add?
We do involve parents a ton on our campuses. I know that I think you guys have seen our, just as a personal note, when you walk around to our campuses or seen our campuses on a Friday, we have flag decks, and flag decks where we can invite our parents to come on campus and see awards that are given to the students for positive behavior, for Student of the Month, or to see the choir sing. I know that flag decks mostly happen on a Friday, or maybe they happen on a Wednesday, but they're up singing patriotic songs. They're showcasing their talents on the recorder, which has always been such a wonderfully sounding instrument. And the parents get together and talk about how is your kid doing? How are you doing? And then we also have parent involvement nights on campus, on all of our campuses, whether it be on the Newport side, where it could be a fun Halloween event, or it could be on some of our Title I schools in Costa Mesa, where it's a STEM night, where we talk a lot about our science curriculum or our math curriculum, or a family math night. So we try to keep involved, because we do know that parents, if they're involved in their students' education, that child is more likely to succeed. So we really, really want to have our parents involved in our students as young of an age as possible with their education.
Great, thank you. All good answers. So let's move on to Kurt. I have a question for you. Let's talk about the curriculum. How is the curriculum created at Newport Mesa Unified School District? And how much of the curriculum is controlled by the state and federal government, as we were just talking about the education code, and where can local control have an impact? Where can the board members and even the parents have an impact based on all these rules and regulations that you as a school district have to follow?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I appreciate that. When it comes to materials in California, one of the things that transpires is the state of California will put out something called a framework, and that can be a framework in mathematics, English language arts, science, or social studies, and then there's a call for publishers to create their materials in alignment with the framework that has been created by the state. From that work, the state reviews all of the materials that the publishers have submitted, and they create a list of materials that can be adopted. So
when you say, when you say the state, who do you mean? Is there like a state education board or?
the California Department of Education and the groups underneath there, they have curriculum analysts, and they put together the requirements of what they want to see for material submission. And from there, they analyze it and they check to see does it meet the requirements that we need to have in order to publish it on our list of books and materials that can be adopted by public schools in California.
Okay.
Yeah. So once that list is created, districts have the opportunity to go through and take a close look at the different materials. In our district, we run a number of different adoption processes where we'll bring in different publishers with different sets of materials, and we bring together our teachers, our administrators, and we work really hard to analyze and kind of create a lens of what is it that this community is looking for, what is going to work best for our students. And we analyze those materials, and then from there, we end up running a very strong consensus process, because not everybody sees things in the exact same way. So we listen to everybody. We spend a lot of time building consensus so that when we make a recommendation to the Board of Education, we can stand behind it knowing that these are materials that collectively the group of people who have spent a lot of time and effort analyzing the different options that we have in front of us are going to be accepted. And so the board we have a process where we have a hearing, and there's a 30-day review process for all of our families to be able to come and take a look at those materials and review those materials and get input on them. And then once the board makes a final determination in regards to those materials, the real heavy work begins, and that is how can we create a very strong process to train our teachers in understanding the materials and the standards that are tied to those materials, so that we can have some confidence that students in the classroom are receiving a high quality education that is aligned to the materials that we have chosen as a school district.
So, I guess as a follow-up to that, this is more towards the board members. Do you feel like you have enough input in the selection of these materials that the students are using in school?
I think I was going to add, not all of the curriculum adoptions make it across the finish line. You know, there's been a couple times where things have come through and we've done the 30-day review. We've heard from parents, we've heard from community members, we've heard just from reading it ourselves and said, hey, you have these concerns, can you highlight how this is going to work in the classroom? And so I think there have been a couple over the years that got kicked back, and we said, hey, go back and come back with something different. So I think that's important, but I think it's also important to know that once that's done, people can review what's available and let the board know.
I think I was going to add additionally, we might see or hear from the community that a certain curriculum is just not meeting the needs of our students. For instance, we've heard some recently about an elementary science program that, you know, it could be more robust than it is. And so this year we're going out and we're piloting a science program to see if this new curriculum is something that we would like to adopt next year. So we get feedback from the community and from teachers to see, hey, this book is just not cutting it anymore. And then we'll look at trying to adopt a new textbook. But it's twofold. Things come down from the state as well, but also we need to see what our students are learning, and if this book is not teaching towards the test or the state standards or whatever, we need to mix it up. And so I think the Ed department, you guys do a good job of looking at where our books are, you know, what our community needs, and how we are teaching towards those standards.
Yeah, and we also, as a board, we ask for reports. And so let's say there's and when they go in cycles, 7-year cycles, where let's say we do social science and then science and language arts, etc. So when these textbooks are coming for review, if we feel that the community has some questions about it, then we ask our assistant superintendents to do a public report during a public meeting, discussing the content of the book or just commenting on the textbooks themselves. So that's kind of how we get involved.
And one thing that came out of one of those is our move to science of reading and phonics over the years, and lots of conversations and the great work of the ed department. That's something that we believe strongly in and are doing in our early readers, early learners, and I think that that's made a huge difference. We have the data to show it, but I also think as somebody who learned reading phonics, I appreciate that.
We're just asking the questions now. If we have some time at the end, we'll try and do that, but we have a lot of questions here to cover, and I want to get all this information, have all the panelists opportunity to speak. So just following up on that, Kurt, is there enough money that's being delivered by the state, or I think our district is basically property tax money, isn't it? I don't think we get state money, but do you have enough money to fulfill the requirements of educating our youth here and meeting the requirements that the curriculum demands?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question as well. We do offer a very high quality education. Some things that we're very proud of in Newport Mesa is that we have a 97% high school graduation rate in our school district, and that is a phenomenal statistic. Another thing is that our students last year, they left going on to college with over $4 million worth of scholarships. So that's something that we take a lot of pride in. One thing that I also want to say, I really specialize, if you will, in the elementary level because I'm the assistant superintendent of elementary education. And something that has just transpired this year, which we're really happy with, is that we now have a counselor in every single one of our elementary schools, all 22, which is fantastic. That is needed support, and we've had a lot of feedback from our teachers, from our community, talking about what a wonderful resource that is. And then we're going on our second year of having a full-time reading support teacher, a little bit connected to what Trustee Bartow was talking about in regards to the need and the importance of making sure that students in Newport Mesa, when they enter our early grades, that we are supporting them with early literacy. That is one of the board's top priorities that we have in the Ed Division. And at the elementary level, there's a lot of work going into making sure that by the time students finish third grade, they have developed the basic reading skills that are necessary. It's that transition that's necessary for children when they go from learning to read to reading to learn. And when they get into fourth grade and fifth grade, the vocabulary, for example, in science and social studies becomes more of a specialist language, if you will. It's challenging. We have to make sure that they have the foundational rock, if you will, of understanding how to read, and we do that through our phonics. But ultimately, in the big picture, comprehension is what we're aiming for, and if we provide in the early grades the ability for students to sound out words and understand words and really build up their vocabulary, we can get them in fourth, fifth, and sixth grade to truly understand and comprehend the materials that are in front of them. So it's not an effort that we take lightly, and we're not where we want to be yet. We're continuing to work harder and get better and better, but there is a lot of energy that we're putting into supporting our students being successful readers, as that's one of the most important things that we can provide our students in the district.
Well, you strayed a little from my question, though. Do you feel like you have sufficient funding to fund the programs of the district, provide a quality education to the students?
Yeah, I think those are some really good examples of things that we haven't been able to do before that we heard are really necessary for us to continue to do a better job. Could we do more with more money? Absolutely. Are there areas in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics that we could do more with if more funding were to come in? The answer would be yes, but do we feel like we have a target really focused on making sure that our students in the early grades learn how to read? And do we have enough supports to make that happen? That's something that's so important to our division, especially at the elementary level, and we do feel that we have sufficient support to be able to put all of our best efforts behind that.
And if I may add, we post-COVID, we had federal and state money that came down to basically help that COVID lack of education time in the classroom. So we have built a robust summer program at the elementary school level where we provided not only enrichment activities, but also some of the basic needs of foundational literacy in our classes. And this is a 10-week, was it? 10-week program, 8:30 to 4. And we had 1,800 elementary school students take advantage of the summer school that we offered. I believe this past summer. So this again, we did have the funding in order to, navigate the post-COVID loss of learning. So that was really a good plan for us to move forward and offer a robust summer school program.
I will say one thing that we do need funding for. I think as a person, if my dad ever said, "Do you need some more money in college?" I'd be like, "Yes." So I'm going to say yes. Here are some ways that we need some more funding. Right now, the state is mandating that we teach TK, so that it's a universal TK. So any 4-year-old entering, becoming 4 and turning 4 in 2025, we have to offer TK for them, transitional kindergarten. And so that's going to be at every one of our elementary schools. Now, our district is a basic aid district, which I think we touched on a little bit earlier, saying that means that our property taxes is property tax funded. So any district that makes, their property taxes is above a certain level, those property taxes actually go back directly to the district. And so we are not funded like, say, a Saddleback or a Capo Valley school district where they're ADA funded, which means attendance driven. So we do not get funds based on one child being in a seat or not if they're in the seat. Because and that is a great way for us to be funded, and I think a lot of districts would love to be funded that way. However, the governor has said and has signed that we do not get funding for that universal TK program because of a basic aid district. With that being said, we now have to create a whole new grade level without any funds for those students. So we have to take those funds away from other programs to be able to provide that. So this is where one thing where we have state mandates, but that funding does not come along with that. And so that's one thing that we are trying to work on in the state to say, hey, look, you're mandating something, but it's going to cost us $2-3 million a year, and we don't have any money. And by the way, a TK school classroom looks way different than a classroom that you would have for a 12-year-old. You have to have, smaller desks, bathrooms in the classroom, all those different things.
Smaller ratios,
teacher to student ratios. So there's a lot of costs that go into that. So I will say we need funding for that. And I will tell you that, teaching those kids and having a kid go to preschool or TK is the foundation to get them to that early literacy goals that we want in our schools. I can tell you there's some other funding that we would always want. We would want the state to fund more of our pensions. Yes, I would say unfunded.
Wait, not your pension.
Not our pensions, but
we don't get a pension.
Pensions are now eating up more of our budget. I think it's about 18 to 20% of our budget right now that pensions eat up. So if you think about this, we are now paying 20% of our budget to people that are not working in our district. And that is something that you can say, hey, that seems a lot, but they deserve their retirement. They paid into it. I get it. But the state needs to come up and pony up some money to help us fund those pensions.
And we do have advisors in Sacramento that keep voicing that opinion on our behalf. But those are called unfunded liabilities, and we don't like those two words at all. Unfunded
mandates, I think, or something like that. Yeah. As a city councilman, I think any of my sisters here, she's a city councilwoman. The state's always pushing things down on local governmental agencies to do more things, but not giving the money to do them. So I feel your pain as I've experienced it myself many years. Let's move on, and maybe we'll come back. I had a few more questions for Kurt, but I do want to make sure everybody gets a chance to field a question. So Carol, this one's going to go to you. Would you say that student classroom time is primarily being used to teach children how to prepare for success in higher education? And do we provide the opportunity for good transition to those that wish to enter a skilled vocation, as opposed to maybe going to college, after high school graduation, or as opposed to going to college. I said in my question. So yeah, I mean, a lot of talking now, about student debt and the burdensome levels of debt that people are carrying going to college and maybe not getting the type of jobs, and maybe we should be encouraging more people into vocational things. I know when I owned a restaurant, it was almost impossible to get a refrigeration guy. I paid him a lot of money, so that was probably a good vocation to get into, but he would tell me he couldn't find good people who wanted to do that kind of work. So are we training them for higher education, and are we also training them for other possibilities of vocational work?
Excellent question, actually. Our mission is to graduate students who have acquired the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary to achieve significant career, educational, civic, and personal goals that will enrich society. And it does all start with early literacy, for example, as we discussed. And I think with the fact that by fall of 2026, all 4-year-olds will be able to attend our public schools in transitional kindergarten. That's a good start because foundational literacy is, again, foundational to higher learning. As you said, learn to read in order to read to learn. Exactly. So, I think past the early literacy programs, we have actually an amazing road to success for our students at the secondary school level. We have pathways that we offer that can basically where the kids can begin to discover their passion and also their strengths and their weaknesses. So we have high schools that have different pathways. For example, at Corona Del Mar High School, the high school that I represent, it has the American Global Studies, which is it's called AGS, and also PAMA, which is a performing arts path. So those are the two major pathways that we offer at CDM. But then, of course, we have other courses that also have different that provide the different interests for the kids. But what we do is we set them up for success. The A through G. All of you, how many of you have sent your children to a 2 to 4-year college? Raise your hand. Probably a lot of us here in this audience. We basically make sure that they get their A through G requirements in order to open the doors to a 2 or 4-year college experience. However, in the last few years, we have very much been building up our CTE programs, which are our career technical education programs that are now exist in all of our high schools, including all alternative high schools, early college high school, and Back Bay. And basically, what we did was very intentional. I'm sorry, this is a lengthy question answer, but we did an alignment to labor market information, which is we did a study about what the labor market needs, and it was kind of interesting because in Orange County, total job postings in Orange County in June 2022. The highest need in occupations in Orange County by job postings for 21-22. Registered nurses at 21,000. We have software developers, sales representatives, retail salesperson, customer service representatives, laborers, and freight. And those are just some of the top job openings in Orange County. So what we do is then we provide those types of career vocational courses and pathways so that our students, when they graduate from high school or a 2-year certificate program, there are jobs out there for them.
Kurt, maybe you know the answer to this. I'm curious, how many, you said 97.5% are graduating from high school. I heard that yesterday at the State of the Schools as well. I was actually quite shocked. It's quite high. Do you have any figures or statistics on how many of them are going from there to 2 4-year colleges?
I don't have that readily available, but we would be able to follow up with you and be able to provide that information. I don't have that off the top of my head.
I have it for
It's kind
CDM.
of tough to get sometimes because it requires those kids after they graduate to tell us what they're doing.
Self-report.
So yeah, self-report. So we'd like to. That would be a great statistic. But
It'd be good to know if you're
Yeah.
being successful with the
Exactly.
product that you're producing, if it's
definitely.
what's happening with them.
Right.
We have a shortage of police officers. Was law enforcement on that
Yeah.
list at all?
Well, here's
No.
one product, right?
Yeah.
That turned out
That's
well.
right. But I wanted to throw in, because at the economic forum today, they talked about the need for people who, more welders and more tradesmen. Everyone I talk to in the community is always like, oh, how about, in middle school we had wood shop. So we brought CTE type classes, your career exploration is what we call it, but that's sort of like that wood shop sort of thing to middle school, and we brought that to our middle schools this past couple of years. And then I was talking to our superintendent for Coastline ROP, which is our CTE partner with the district, and he was saying how there are less high school students in Orange County than there have ever been. That's declining, just the sheer, not public schools, not private schools, just sheer number of students. However, the enrollment in career technical education is up 10% over what it's ever been. So there's really a need for that we can see. So even when we have physically less students, more students are saying, oh, this makes sense to at least explore a pathway like nursing assistants. And we have some really cool partnerships with UCI where they have a medical innovation research entrepreneurship pathway. So not only are you learning skills that you can take with you through life and entrepreneurship and innovation in products, you're actually, this is something that looks really great on a college like a high school transcript when you're applying. So I think that looking at it from all angles, you want educated students, you want kids who know how to work with their hands and have the ability to kind of choose whether they do want to go to college and take on that debt, or whether they've got something to do with nursing. We have a really cool student who pursued a skilled nursing pathway through our one of our high schools, graduated with her CNA, went into a completely different field, but was able to use that to pay for her college herself. She wouldn't have been able to pay for college otherwise. So I think our investment in the kind of the way of the future is something that we put a lot of time into.
Yeah, I give another example is we have a pathway of a building pathway at our high school in Estancia, and there are not enough students or people going into the construction industry. And that construction pathway is heavily sponsored by McCarthy Builders. And they come in and they will hire directly right out of our senior year because they can get their certification. These seniors get their certification. And within 2 years, these students are making $90,000 in construction. And they're on their way to become foreman, to become the next general manager. And it's all from the CTE pathway, and particularly with the advent of AI now, I think there is a lot of AI can't fix the HVAC unit, they can't fix our cars, they can't fix all that. Not yet, right? But all of these skills are highly technical, right? So you plug in your car basically to check to see what's wrong with it. So those are all the skills and things in the future that the jobs are just different than where they were when we were going to college or going to high school.
And as far as boots on the ground, I can attest to this. I'm at a secondary school. I don't think I mentioned that prior. I'm at Corona Del Mar High School. It's my assigned school. A lot of this is coming from the counselors too, right? So if they're I don't know if anyone mentioned that, but I don't think they did. But our counselors are amazing. At least the ones at my school site, and I can imagine that's the same way across the entire school district. Is that these counselors are working with these kids and finding what their strengths are and discovering these other pathways that they can take, because there are alternative paths for different students, and ultimately, if they're not seeing the door, the counselors are showing them that door to
If you
that
want one, you gotta
alternative
finish your
pathway.
crossword puzzle. No, do the other one now.
Just out of curiosity, and pardon my ignorance,
Forgot it.
because we talked about
No, you didn't
funding
forget it.
curriculum and
Just
maybe the harder
put your thing
hard
in, go do
sciences like
that
reading,
one I
math,
had pulled up for you.
arithmetic, and
Has it
even
been over 5
PK,
minutes?
Yeah.
things like that. What about the soft things?
That's fine, I
Are you
wanted
still
you to
funding
get your
those, like
wiggles out.
drama,
Go.
art,
See, if you want a
band,
cookie.
and I don't know,
Yeah,
those things?
yeah. I mean,
You want a
I'd like to
cookie?
tell you that I've got some third graders learning the recorder at the moment, and that's great.
Don't say the recorder. That was the bane of my existence in school.
I know, and we've bought the recorders now. We own them. But we provide a musical education for every student, an art education for every student starting in elementary school on the way up. So we are funding, and this segues great into the fact that we're creating lovely theaters at every single school. We just broke ground on the Estancia Theater. That'll be a beautiful facility, probably take 2 years to build. But every school has a wonderful theater and a wonderful theater arts program. I don't know if anyone's gone to Corona del Mar and seen. I'm sure Carol can talk a little bit more about it, but their drama department is just phenomenal, and they won the equivalent of Tonys for their plays this past year. So yes, we are still working on the soft skills, and we're gonna still have that next John Wayne out there one day.
Well, gee, he's a big guy.
Where is he?
He's done a lot of stuff here.
Go get him.
Yeah, I think CDM dominated the Cappies last season.
Slow down.
We got, I think,
Slow down.
10
Go
awards
get
out
him.
of 21,
Please, go get him.
including,
That's the high school awards?
yes, if anyone has done drama or has a kids in theater, that's absolutely amazing, an amazing achievement. But yeah, we offer a lot of pathways in the theatrical, performing, visual arts.
At the elementary level, in regards to music, unlike many school districts who aren't able to afford music specialists, we do provide music to our students in transitional kindergarten to 3rd grade. They have a 60-minute experience with our music teachers. That is a credentialed teacher in the area of music that really knows how to teach students. The TK through 3rd grade students have a 60-minute experience every other week with our specialists. And then when students get up into 4th grade through 6th grade, they have a 40-minute block of music at a minimum every single week. And that is not the norm in a lot of school districts. So we're really fortunate to have credentialed music specialists who provide on a routine basis throughout the entire school year a fantastic music program to all of our students.
Thank you.
And if you're having a bad day, just come over to our holiday performances. You'll be thoroughly entertained, and you'll walk out with a big smile on your face.
All right, I want to maybe segue here to a similar question related. So have you been trying to form partnerships like with the local colleges and things like that? Are kids getting, I remember, I took AP classes, certainly I got some college credit, but I think there's even more that you can do these days with the local colleges to get these kids. I mean, some of them I think go to college and they already have 2 years of college credit. So what are you doing as far as partnerships, relationships, things like that to help these kids maybe avoid a year or two of student loans and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk a little bit about our partnerships with the community colleges. We have one high school called the Early College High School where students dual enroll with Coastline Community College to get their community college degree, their 2-year degree, AA degree, as well as continue on through the regular curriculum, which is their AP classes, in some cases their IB classes. But this school has been recognized as a Blue Ribbon school and a Lighthouse school, which is very, very hard to do, and it's only a very, less than 0.05% of schools in the nation have these accolades. But it's amazing. I have a little stat here for you, and I don't want to get it wrong because it is such an amazing statistic. But out of the graduating class last year, 2023, 80% were 4-year college eligible, which means that there were 26 out of a graduating class, I think it was, of like 45, 26 degrees earned. So that means that more than half of those people, while they were in high school doing all the curriculum, they had earned an AA degree, and some had earned multiple AA degrees. So that is amazing, as well as Angel Scholars. So Angel Scholars is an amazing partnership with the Los Angeles Angels, or the Angels of Anaheim, as we like to hear it. Yes. And they do provide some great scholarships. So to win an Angel Scholar, you're part of this AVID program, which means that your advancement via individual determination. So you most likely are the first generation of your family members to go to college. But they will fund anywhere you go to a four-year education. They will fund 100% of that education, which means if you go to Harvard and that's your $80,000, $90,000 a year college, they will fund that tuition as well as trips home back and forth to see mom and dad. And the Angels did that with 4 of our graduating students last year, and that is amazing, and it's phenomenal that the Angels do this. You'd only wish the Ducks could do this as well, but they don't.
Sam Willie was in town.
Yeah, well, we should talk to him. So as well as we have partnerships with OCC and UCI for our career technical education. With UCI, we do some technical education with our digital media arts, with some of our healthcare pathways that Michelle was talking about. But other partnerships, apart from just our educational partnerships, we have mentorships. I don't know if anyone knows about the mentorship program at Newport Harbor, but it's been going on for 20-some years, and it's phenomenal, where they have a person that's a mentor. Say they're a surgeon at Hoag, and they mentor a student in their junior year, and they meet with them every so often, and then that student does a report on them at the end. But those types of mentorships, I think, are so valuable for a student in high school to see, what can I do, what can I be, or, hey, look, I thought I wanted to be a surgeon, that is, I cannot handle it, I cannot stomach it. So check that box, you don't want to do it, and you move on. But those kinds of real-world applications, I think, are what keeps kids fully focused on their next steps in their careers. And we are lucky here in Newport Mesa to have so many great alumni that are willing to spend their time here, but also great partnerships with the great universities that we have.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to go short on time, and I want to get Andrew a little bit more involved here in his role as a school resource officer. So, we have the fentanyl people here tonight. Obviously, that's a big issue in town. Conversations in the back. We got fentanyl people here. I'm sure we hear about drug abuse, depression, things like that. What are you seeing on campus? You're there virtually every day. Is that? Or why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do there and what you're seeing there on campus?
Okay, yeah, I can take a step back. So, drugs was kind of the big thing back in the 90s and 2000s. I don't remember there were officers on campus, teaching that kind of drug program. What we've realized over time was just that it was a little limited in scope, right? So a couple of governmental things, the money for that program was kind of drying out. But we also saw an opportunity at the police department to partner up with the school district to have an officer there to essentially be boots on the ground and to kind of bridge the gap between the school community and the police community. And we saw it as an opportunity to, one, provide on-site police services. So if there were questions that maybe you didn't want to call the police department about, that you could find the school resource officer, or they were very accessible to you, and you can, anyone from the community, so the student communities, we're talking about students, parents, teachers, administration. Ultimately, that was kind of the goal of the school resource officer. And that's pretty much what my role is on campus right now. I act as a liaison. I will attend meetings, talk about topics such as fentanyl, drugs, and we'll talk about that with the presentation at the end. I don't want to spend too much time on it. But as far as on the campus, what I'm seeing, I think the short answer is mental health is always kind of on the forefront. That's the short answer. The longer answer is going to involve a variety of factors, and that's going to ultimately impede their learning. Is a combination of what we call ACEs, if anyone's ever heard of that before, so adverse childhood experiences. If you have too many of those going on, you're a lot more prone to substance abuse. So those are typically the things that I'll see and have to deal with, and ultimately provide some advice for, because being in my field, in law enforcement, we kind of see the real world consequences of when substance abuse meets, poor choices and sometimes bad luck, right? And that's part of the program, is having an officer there, talking to these students that are suffering through some sort of mental illness with a combination of substance abuse, and showing them that there's a pathway to get out of that. That's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but
Maybe share with the audience, what types of substance abuse are you talking about? Is it alcohol abuse? Is it
You have
drugs?
until 7 o'clock.
What do you think?
yeah, I don't have the exact numbers with me, but if I want to put your mind at ease, we're not seeing a ton of fentanyl on campus, right? So the ones that we see, that I typically see in the administration, will typically see is just nicotine in the form of there's really no cigarettes anymore, but we're seeing a lot of vapes. So that this is a liquid that's in some sort of a contraption that turns that liquid into a vapor that you can inhale. We're also seeing marijuana in different forms. So those are the two major ones that we'll see on campus, and occasionally we'll see
What about like
alcohol
edibles
as well.
and things? Do you run across that? Edible things?
We do not. They might be in their stomach already at that point. Yeah, but it'll typically be in those forms, and I'll meet with administration on if we confiscate some of those items from the students, and ultimately the goal isn't really to get them in trouble. They will have to accept some of the consequences that ultimately come with it, but we're trying to figure out how do we change this behavior before it sets in and before they become adults and leave the high school, and there are real world consequences beyond that can actually impact your future endeavors, whatever it be, at a future college or a career of their choice.
We're out there in the community, and the thing I hear the most, or at least top three, is safety of our kids in our schools. And parents have a lot of anxiety around it just because of what's seen around the country. And so, for me, I can't even imagine not having you around our campus, in the sense that even just having the police car in the parking lot says a lot, and it could detract from anyone that may have some nefarious, thoughts of coming on campus. For one, you also show up to our football games, and there's crowd control, whatever. You're there. You're part of our community, and I can't stress enough how valuable you are. All of our SROs, I see two more up in the back there. Thank you. We truly appreciate what you do, especially when you have a great heart and you connect with the kids at a very personal level. And wow.
Yeah, we're very glad to have that partnership with the school district. Just to give some background too, we do have 3 school resource officers servicing Newport Beach. Obviously, we have more than 3 schools, but that's just kind of the nature of it, right? We have a certain number of police officers that obviously we have to service the rest of the city. But obviously, we've seen this program, the school resource officer program, the benefits that come from it. Would we like to have an officer at each school? That'd be great. But that's just not feasible. We work with what we got right now. But ultimately, yeah, part of my, one of the primary principles of me being there is obviously I'm armed security. I'm part of our campus safety team, and so are the other SROs, and we work with the schools as far as keeping up to date on what we can do to make the facilities more secure. So we've done site assessments in conjunction with the county. We've looked at ways that we can upgrade the facilities, like if it's fencing, if it's cameras, restricting access in certain areas, if it's parking lots, if it's bollards that we can put up. That's kind of, and the school district will consult with the police department. We'll try and come up with solutions that work, but ultimately, decisions that happen on campus will ultimately come from the board.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but our time is up. It's gone quickly. I even had a few more questions I wanted to ask you, but to respect everybody's time here, and we did promise fentanyl people, why don't you come on up to talk about what your guys are doing. They're actually one of our leadership circle chamber members, and we're happy to have them. They've been a great asset, and he's going to talk a little bit about what fentanyl is, what your mission is, and what your goal is in the community.
Thank you very much, and I promised Ed when he invited me that I would keep it under 5 minutes. I'm going to do my best to do that. I have to say, as a former teacher myself, in front of a captivated audience, I'm really wanting to give a full speech here, but I'll keep it brief. So yes, my name is Shane Wood. I am a part of Fentanyl Solution. We're a nonprofit actually here in Newport Beach that's working to give education and advocacy to lower the rate of fentanyl poisonings. We use the term fentanyl poisoning because of a couple reasons. One, fentanyl is a drug, a synthetic opioid. It takes very, very little in order to be lethal. Less than the amount that would be in half a grain of rice is enough to kill an adult in this country. It is the #1 killer of Americans 18 to 45. On average, 300 people a day die of opioid overdoses in America. 250 of those are fentanyl related specifically. So it is a huge issue that's happening. It is the #1 killer of teens in Orange County, according to the statistics. And a new report from the LA County Health Department said that with accidental overdose deaths of minors 12 to 17, 92% of them had fentanyl in their system. So this is something that is affecting our youth, but something that we talk a little bit less about in this room. It's great to have people here who are engaged, who are part of the community. The highest growing statistic of victims of fentanyl poisoning are actually women 65 and older. So it's affecting our teens, but it is also affecting 65 and older because of a couple of different factors. One is getting medications from anywhere other than an FDA-approved pharmacy. So if you're not getting it directly from your doctor or your pharmacist, if you're ordering it online, if you're getting it from maybe from another country, it is adulterated. It has fentanyl in it. About 80% of the pills that come into Orange County have some fentanyl in them. They say that over half of those have enough to be fatal. So one of the things that we really want to emphasize here is that, and thank you so much for talking about the DARE program that many of us grew up with, is no longer the method that we can really rely on anymore, because fentanyl really can be one pill and you're dead, right? When there's so little of the substance that is required. So what we do is we offer education around some of the ways that you can protect yourself in order to be able to learn from the mistakes that so many of us made in our youth, right? Nobody wants one pill to be the end of a life, especially a young person's life. So we offer naloxone training. It's actually very, very simple, but people get nervous about it because they feel like if something is so powerful that it can reverse opioids like fentanyl, like heroin, like your OxyContins, it must be difficult to use. It's really not. If you've used any kind of a nasal spray, it's the same idea. 2 fingers on the top, thumb underneath, up the nose, like push it. That's all you have to do. A lot of people, they're like, oh, do you have to prime it first? I don't know why people immediately want to push the button beforehand. If I had more time, I'd show you. It just sprays in the air, it looks really cool, and then it's done. It's gone. No more. So you just stick it up the nose and trust that it's going to do what it's going to do. So we will come to really anywhere that needs us, whether that's schools, whether that's companies, whether that's organizations like this. Newport actually has a really robust program for fentanyl awareness, which is fantastic. The officers are doing trainings, which is really fantastic, but not all communities have that resource available to them, so we make sure that we have that available. We have our Stop Fentanyl packs that we give out. Those are 2 doses of naloxone as well as fentanyl test strips that can test powders, pills, or liquid to see if there is fentanyl in them.
A lot of times what we see, especially with teens who have the time to be home alone, if they take something, nobody's there to give them naloxone. By the time their parents get home, they find them passed away because nobody was there to intervene. Fentanyl test strips, they can be taught to test anything they may take beforehand. And some parents go, oh my God, why would I want to teach my children how to test for drugs? Well, comprehensive drug education is important, and trying to tell them not to take it because of their developing brains is a part of what we do. But if they're going to make a mistake, I would much rather come home, find 2 fentanyl test strips missing, and have that conversation with my teen than come home and start planning a funeral. That's the way that we look at it. Thank you. Yeah, so we have more information in the back. I want everybody to come grab a Stop Fentanyl pack with 2 doses of naloxone in there. If you have any other questions or want any more, all of my contact information is in the back there as well. So we will talk with you about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great little talk. Definitely grab one of those packs. I want to thank the panel for coming here tonight and sharing all the information. I learned a lot of stuff. Certainly, I hope all you did. I think they're going to stick around a little bit. So if anybody, sorry we didn't get to questions in the audience, but they had a lot of information to present. But feel free to walk up and ask them yourself. So thank you all and have a good evening.
Is that it? How long was it?
I don't know.
Can you check?
I'm trying. Hold on. Trying to stop the recording.